Hello, and welcome to Sub versus Dub. This is still one of the beginning episodes. We are rocking through, and I have friends. I have friends in all kinds of places, and one of the places that I have the most friends is in the sumo ring. So I decided to put out a message to some of my closest sumo buddies and see who wanted to talk about anime. And the gentleman that we have here is the founder and the leader of Black Cat Sumo up in the Bay Area. Bay Area. They kind of get around a little bit. Mr. Evan.
What
Boop,
up? What
boop,
up?
boop, 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 boop. Hey, how you
How you
doing?
doing? I'm doing great. I'm having a good time.
Nice, nice. I see a ring in the back, and I see what is that? What is that?
Oh, this
Oh,
back here?
oh, we're starting off hot.
Yeah. I hope none of the viewers are immediately turning it off, because that would be a mistake. That's a mistake that a lot of people make about this anime, and it's one that we should work to correct tonight.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I, I definitely had a little bit of a gap in my knowledge, and I dug a little deep, and I, I'm up to date on the manga, so there's that. Um, and I have some hot takes about that manga that we will get to in hot takes. But overall, God, it's good. It's
Yeah,
good. It's so
yeah.
good.
It's a masterpiece, and like all masterpieces, I can find something to criticize for sure,
Hmm.
especially when you get to the manga.
Oh
But
yeah.
overall, it's beautiful.
Mm.
It's beautiful, and it's explicit, and it's touching, and it speaks to a little piece of humanity that I think exists in all of us. And that's why I like this anime. But I know we got other stuff to talk about first.
We sure do. We sure do. And the anime that we're talking about behind him is Berserk. It is a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece. But we will. It's still an incomplete masterpiece, but we'll get into that. First, we're going to start this off with your anime journey. Yo. All right. So, tell me, how did you start watching anime? You're what age are you right now?
I'm 37 now.
37. 37. Cool. So what is that? 1989?
88 for me.
88. 88. Okay, sweet. Sweet. That's awesome. So your journey might be similar to mine. So how did you start watching anime?
Um, I mean, I think I have really early memories of anime just kind of like being on the peripheral, right? Where I'm just a kid watching Saturday morning cartoons. Maybe I'm watching, jumping around different channels, maybe jump around the sci-fi channel here and there. And oh,
Mm-hmm.
here's an interesting art style. What's going on here? This isn't the cartoon I'm used to. And oh my goodness, this is quite violent. this is uh
Yeah.
this is much different than what I'm used to. I think this was like Demon City that I saw or something on sci-fi.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, something like that.
At like
And
6 o'clock in the morning, right?
yes, exactly. It would be
Yeah.
very early in the morning. And literally it would just be after the cartoons had kind of ended for me. And I just started flicking around the channels while everyone else is kind of waking up, and I would see this stuff. And apart from that, I think anime was just kind of also kind of floating around. Like we'd get a direct to home movie that my sister would rent here or there, and it was like it was obviously Japanese animation, right? And so I'm
Right.
getting these like little sprinkles of anime in my early life. But I would say it wasn't really until Toonami hits, and Dragon Ball Z is really having its big, you know, push in this like late 90s early 2000s time for a lot of young men especially. And I felt a lot of it was very easy for me to relate to Dragon Ball Z. You have this, male power fantasy that's going on. It's a Superman story. It's all this stuff that's already really, the themes are already very entwined with American culture. So it makes a lot of sense for us to enjoy Dragon Ball Z. And I was also an athlete growing up. And I really liked the way that there was training montage, not montages, but training sequences in Dragon Ball Z.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that
the
they,
the the commercials were also really good. As I was reading through like some of the things that you like, the Toonami, I was like, oh, I remember them having like really good like music video style commercials with just like talking
yeah.
about metaphors and what it's like to be a young man, and like they knew who they were marketing to.
Yes, absolutely. I actually literally watched a whole bunch of those the other day. But yeah, those edits, they were they were essentially edits like we see nowadays. Well, someone make it like a LeBron edit or whatever edit of a movie star, right? The
Yeah.
fan cams, but it was like that just for cool cyberpunk anime all the time. You'd get a shot of Cowboy Bebop swooping in, and then it cuts to something, and there's a voiceover saying something philosophical, and it was just this very different world, to be like you felt like you were seeing something new, at least as an American kid at that age where you're 10, 11, 12, 13, right? That preteen era, and you're starting to go like there's like this there's all this other art that I could be enjoying that is
Yeah.
separate.
Did you run into an issue watching those 6 o'clock movies? They were movies, and then seeing the anime about maybe 10 or so years later. Like one of the ones is Yu Yu Hakusho. I saw the movie at 6 o'clock in the morning. I have no idea who the characters are, and then a few years later, Yu Yu Hakusho's on Toonami, and I'm like, I think I know who this is, and it was Botan, that the little spirit witch. I was like, oh, I know who that is, or Reaper. She's a Reaper. I was like, oh, I know who this is. Like all of a sudden,
I don't think I really got that. I think the exception to that would be probably Ghost in the Shell. I probably saw
mm,
images of that early on because that was like what
right,
95 or something. I can't
mm,
quite remember. Maybe it was a little later. Um, but I think that was like that, and then I reintroduced myself to Ghost in the Shell later on, and was like, oh yeah, I do remember that this imagery being popular at some point. But I would say like a lot of like my real interest in anime, although it might have those origins with Toonami, for me, it didn't really solidify until much later. Because, like I said, I was an athlete, and that was really my focus. So there was a long time where I just didn't watch TV. I just
right,
didn't consume a lot of media because I was at practice, I was training, I was doing this stuff, I was taking it very seriously. And it wasn't really until after I had stopped, competing in a serious way, to where, and I got a little bit more into like my major and like what I was studying. I'm an English major, so a lot of literary analysis, right? And I wanted to explore more genres because I was very much about breaking the canon of English literature and things like that, and really uh, being more open to analysis in other media. And so I always knew that like there was things about anime that I found compelling, right? Every once in a while, I'd watch another anime with like a friend who'd introduce it to me, things like that. Um, but this would be more like what I call your starter anime. So it would be
mm,
like Death Note, right?
okay,
Where it's very accessible, it's very easy to get into, or your Studio Ghibli's, right? These are made for mass audiences, and maybe not all ages, but it's really easy for someone to pick it up and kind of get into it and enjoy it, especially if you're a younger person, I would say. Yeah.
right,
And so through that, I started going like, okay, there's obviously something I've missed. I went back and I rewatched I didn't rewatch, I watched all of Dragon Ball because I'd never seen the whole thing through. I'd never seen it unedited,
Mhm.
right? And so I was fascinated with that, like looking at these things as a kid. I remember Ronin Warriors being one that I was really into. Went back and watched that. I'm like, oh, this is terrible. This is terrible now. Um, so I'm going back to things at that point, like, oh, let's try Yu Yu Hakusho, let's try these things instead. And eventually I said, okay, I need to understand that there's a much bigger anime world than I was aware of. And I started going like, okay, what are the best anime? What do people say are the best anime? Right? I'm going to start watching those. And I just like went down like some internet list, like, oh, this one appears on a lot of lists. Let's watch that. Um, and I would, have a lot of things I liked about a lot of them. I'd have complaints, right? I
What
have my
were a couple of them,
of which.
of the ones on like the top list that you
Oh,
saw?
I mean, obviously Berserk would be up there, but it would have like Ghost in the Shell, it'd have Yu Yu Hakusho, it'd have Hajime no
Mhm.
Ippo, it'd have
Hmm.
um, at this time it was like sports anime weren't as popular in the United States, so I didn't see many of those up there. You'd have your Pokemon, you would have your, what else did I see? Like Ninja Scrolls would be up there. Obviously your main ones, like your excuse me, oh, I can't even think of stuff now. um,
That's all right.
but you'd have like your Hellsing, your oh
Vampire Hunter D.
Vampire Hunter D. Yes, thank you.
Right.
Just like
Okay.
all the
So
lists that
that
everyone
definitely
knows.
gives like a point of where we are in the time, right?
Yeah,
Like Trigun was probably in there.
Trigun, thank you.
Like it all makes sense. Maybe even Desert Punk, which was never good, but
I
definitely was on
tried
some
Desert
people's
Punk,
list.
didn't keep
It's
going
so
with that
bad.
one.
It's so
Yeah, yeah,
bad. It's so bad.
yeah. But yeah,
So
so I started just watching lots of anime, and I figured out like, yeah, there was like several that I like. I think as soon as I watched Cowboy Bebop, I was like, okay, I fucking love anime now. Like this is a real
yeah.
genre. I need to watch more and more of this, right? And so eventually I hit Berserk.
Mm,
And that's been my anime journey where for a long time I really dove into it. I kind of know what I like now. Um, and I'm picky now with my anime. I would say I
right.
won't watch. I don't spend nearly as much time watching anime or even giving anime a chance. Like if I don't like something within the first few episodes, I'll move through it essentially.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I know what I like now.
You know what you like. Well, since we know what you like, let's go ahead and get the deep dive going.
What are you watching? And tell me the scene. Heroes and villains in worlds we've never seen. From Power Rangers to mechs that keep clashing. Tell us right now.
That one stopped a little early. That's fun. But so we're talking about Berserk, and since I watched so much Berserk, I actually caught a lot of Berserk, and I made a clip. So I'm going to play it. Wow, I spent so much time watching Berserk. So it's been just to give a little bit of background. I watched. I started off with Berserk in the most non-conventional way possible. So I watched or I played the Dreamcast game first. So that was I got it brand new in 1999 for Dreamcast for I think they sold it to me for $20 and the tax was like 75 cents. because I remember because I used my piggy bank to pay for it. So I like broke my piggy bank, paid for the game. I played the game, had no idea who these characters were. Zero idea. And you're pretty far into this journey by the time. So this is already after the eclipse. So I mean, I am you have characters that don't talk, they don't act like the way that they act. And so I played the game and I was like, this is awesome. I played that game so much. I mean, it was nonstop. I think I might have broke one of my first Dreamcast playing that game. I really enjoyed it. And then shortly after, I find the anime. I watch the anime and I'm like, I think this is what I know. And it starts off, and the best part about Berserk, it starts off and you're in the battle. He's cool, he's badass, and you're just like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then it goes backwards, right into the golden age arc. And I'm like, all right, well, no, I mean, I'm watching the anime. At some point in time, we're gonna get to back to that. And if you watch the '90s anime, doesn't, not really, not really at all. And so I I didn't need to rewatch that one because I've seen that one so many times. So I just did like, like watch my favorite episodes, some of the like training arc ones that just happened to be in there. And then I dived into the re-release movies where they turned them into episodes because I watched the movies. So and then they flush out the eclipse, which was rough. But I rewatched that and I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I did not go back to watch the 2016. It's just not
Oh,
worth my
the
time.
best part.
It's so rough, so rough.
If there's
And
one
then I was
message
like,
if there's one message that any listener should take away from this conversation is just skip 2017. You
yeah,
don't
just
need
skip
it.
it.
You don't need that
Just
in your
skip it.
life.
Just skip
Don't
it.
worry,
If
don't
you
do
want to
it.
watch the old school one, watch the old school one. If you want to watch the movies or the re-release movies where they turn them into episodes, actually pretty good. Pretty good. They need more dialogue, but the action's nice. The '90s one, the action isn't not so nice, but the dialogue is a little bit more fleshed out. You see more of the characters, you understand who the people are a little bit more. But this is my thing. The manga is where it's at. The manga is where it's at. I don't think that this should be an anime. That I don't know if it could truly be a good anime. I think it's it fits the medium better as a manga because you can be a little bit more free. You can do more
Yeah.
things. And if Uzumaki ever taught us anything, you can get one or two episodes of something that's pretty cool and then completely shit the bed after that. But that's my long talk. And my wife, I love her so much. She has been with me this whole time. We've been berserk crazy. She's been watching me read. She's like, oh, what are you reading? And while she's reading something about like some self-help book or something about black history, and I'm just here in my little cartoon box, right? And I'm like, I'm digging deep, digging deep. I am not versed very deep. I definitely was just like, I gotta get this done. I gotta get this done. I stopped reading on Sunday to catch up, and I through every like I had a few books. I read a few books. I had Kindles. Kindle is actually really good for Berserk. I
Hmm,
think that it's underrated. I think that
good to know.
it fits really well with the texture too. Um, I think it's underrated for manga. So just putting that out there. But enough of my rambling. Go ahead and preach the
I
world
mean,
of Berserk.
I'll first start off with disagreeing with you. I can, yeah. I mean, I can see it as an anime. I
Mm,
actually, here's what I'll say, and I'll steal this from Lady Emily, who did a very long video on Berserk. And in that video, she says adapting Berserk is impossible, right? It's the manga itself is, as you say, you can't make that into an anime. right?
Right.
Because you have the three main issues. One, it's beautiful, it's amazing.
Hmm.
Trying to take Maria's art and put it into animation is a lost cause. Two, it's very long. And
Yes.
the length makes it harder to adapt as well. And three, it's extremely explicit, right?
Yes.
And you can probably do a combination of two of those in an adaptation, but you can't do all three, right?
Yeah.
It's too much. So for me, adapting the manga is silly. The manga itself stands on its own, very
Mm.
separately from the 97 anime. And I prefer the 97 anime as a work itself. Um, and I kind of judge them separately because of that. I
Right.
think that if someone was asking, how do I get into Berserk? I would never tell them to read the manga first, right?
Mm.
I would say you should watch the 97 anime. If you liked what you saw and want to know more of what's of this story and want to be reassured, um, then you
Interesting.
should
You
read
wouldn't
the
go with the newer movie, the ones that they extended out,
They're
not
I
the
mean, they're
movie, the
okay.
actual movie one. So what I get pushback from sometimes is people will go back and they will look at the animation, and if it's not on some degree of Jujutsu Kaisen or whatever,
Sure.
they're out. So it's hard to tell somebody like, "Hey, go back and watch this." Like I can't get anybody to watch like Lupin the Third,
Mhm.
which I consider to be a masterpiece.
Yeah, yeah. Um, no, I do think that if I want someone, I think the person that who will enjoy Berserk is the type of person that will not allow art style to get in the way of their enjoyment.
Mm,
And maybe that's a little pretentious of me, and maybe that's unfair to some listeners or viewers. Um, and maybe for some people, it is better to start them on those films, right? I think overall, the 97 anime captures the tone of Berserk much better, in my opinion. The grittiness of it is like the lack of polish that it brings that a lot of that those films later on have more of, I feel like. I think is very necessary to the tone. And I would say I really think that they get the dialogue better with the original. And I like. Oh wait, did the original the new films had the voice actors as well? I think.
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but so that's why I think, and maybe part of it's nostalgia bias. Like that's the first thing I saw, and that's like where I see it, right? Um, yeah, I just think the 97 anime itself as a piece of media is slightly better than the manga, and but I don't want to compare them because you can't make the manga into an anime. You just
This
can't.
is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
So that's kind of where I stand on that part of it. I would say when it comes
Um,
to how to enjoy Berserk.
Before we move forward, I definitely will put in a trigger warning because
Hmm. Hmm.
Berserk is full of triggering things. And I have a theory, and I can't even talk about my theory until we get past a trigger warning. So
Yeah.
please hold. Nothing like smooth jazz and an alarm to tell you trigger warning. All right. So there are some heavy, and I mean heavy concepts. And I started talking to people that I'm doing Berserk. Like I'm started talking to some of my buddies. I'm like, hey, they saw me reading Berserk. They saw me watching Berserk. I was at work watching Berserk. Hey, sorry, that's what I do sometimes. And the one of the things that surprised me is people think that Griffith was right or did no wrong. I think that is crazy, um, for multiple different reasons. I think that you can justify saying that if you separate him before he becomes a demon or before he becomes whatchamacallit, right? Like if you separate it then it's like, all right, but he does do a very dark act right at the beginning of when he becomes a demon. So at that point, you can't justify anything, right? And every character in this intellectual property is damaged. Like each and every like main character has they are the lowest of low. They have went through sexual abuse. They are surviving and trying to live in this darkness. And I think that Griffith uses his coping mechanism where he has that like that mentality of the world belongs to me and everything I'm doing is for my own personal goals and my goals are going to make the world right. And that I see an issue with that, but I can see how somebody may not see an issue with that, right? And I think that that's how
Yeah,
politicians are made. Like, you know, like that's
yeah,
for you to get to that position in that leadership role of like commanding a country or over like anything over 100 people. There's definitely a part of where you have to have that like savior mentality, right? What do you think
yeah.
about the Griffith?
I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head with Griffith. He is, um, I mean, I understand where the tendency to kind of think of him as like he didn't do anything wrong. He's just a a different side of the same coin kind of thing. Like there's the duality of Guts and Griffith. I understand that, but Griffin is a bad guy.
Yes.
And the reason that it doesn't necessarily come across that way sometimes is because Griffith does a lot to justify who he is through the idea of his dream, right? His dream
Mm-hmm.
to have his own world. And he is an inspiring figure to all these people who, like you said, these are people who have been victimized, right? In some of the worst ways possible. And they all have these flickering uh, uh, dreams of their own, this like piece of humanity that they are clinging to. They blame themselves for the things that have happened to them when they don't deserve to, right? They have regrets and they have all these aspects that have they've gone through like through no will of their own. It's a big theme in the anime, like causality and like do we actually really have control of our lives, right? And these people don't feel that way, and through Griffith they are able to feel that way by, as the anime and the manga say, by putting their flames into his much larger flame to burn brighter, and they're able to be a part of something bigger. It just so happens the person leading them and inspiring them, as once again, as they will say in the story, he understands that he needs, in order to reach his goal, he needs to step over the skulls of the people who have helped him and the people who have stood against him. They're indistinguishable to his goal,
Yes.
and to their deaths mean the same to him. This isn't about virtue. It is about his own narcissistic belief about himself. And he has his doubts throughout, and he has his faults, and he has the ways in which he can be a sympathetic character for sure. But ultimately, it's him using people and exploiting people who have already been used and exploited and perpetuating a cycle of trauma and taking advantage of it.
What are your thoughts on when Guts separates from Griffith? What there's a series of acts that happen after that doom everything and spiral out of control. What do you think the mentality was for him to go into the princess's quarters and do what he did?
I think that, Casca talks about how, she wanted to be close with Griffith, and she could never feel close and feel as valued to him as she saw Griffith valuing Guts, right? And there's a lot of this like there's a lot of like homoerotic imagery in Berserk,
Yes, there is.
and so
A
there's
lot.
this sense of like Griffith and Guts themselves having a certain romance, whether that's literal or metaphorical, right? Or if it's just these unstated feelings, right? Where Griffith feels not just the ownership that he directly states about Guts, right? Where he says, "You're mine, you are mine, Guts," right? Until you die, you will die for my dream, right? He is the he loves Guts in a way that Guts is useful to him, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Griffith doesn't ask Casca to assassinate anybody. Griffith doesn't let Casca know about his plan when he's going to pretend to poison himself. He tells Guts, right? So when Guts decides to leave, this is a huge betrayal for Griffith, right? Like it acts like a jilted lover, doesn't he?
Yes.
So in order for Griffith to take back control, like he's in a situation where he has lost control of his greatest tool, the tool that allowed him to just take things by force rather than what he used to have to do, which is like sell his body for money and things like that, right?
Right.
He didn't have to do that anymore because he had Guts on his side, right? Guts allows
Mm.
him to rule, Guts allows him to be successful in a brutal fashion. So Guts
Right.
leaving is his loss of control, and he wants to reassert control as quickly as possible. So he does something that he doesn't normally do, which is something very rash, and it wasn't very calculated either. He's
Right.
grasping for control after Guts leaves.
So after so Griff gets tortured, and I don't want to spoil too much of the manga because I want people to go and look at the manga. Like, go, like, you can literally look at it online. Like, there's ways. So we're not gonna get too deep into that. We're gonna touch a few things, but I don't want to go too far. But when Griffith is physically destroyed, right? And he's at the point where he's trying to commit suicide and he's unable to do that. What do you think the mentality that wouldn't let him do that, but would let him sacrifice his whole team? What do you think was in his heart?
I do wonder because it's kind of vague whether Griffith fails to like impale himself and kill himself, if
Mm,
he fails to, or if he just chooses not to.
interesting. That's true.
My read of it is that he just literally fails to do it. Like he's trying
Okay.
to, and he's so feeble and has lost so much control at this point, and is so powerless that he can't even do that, right? And so now he's sitting there, and literally at that moment, that's when the Bailet floats back to him.
Right.
And so you take someone who is literally as low as can possibly be, death's door, can't move or talk or communicate, like can't do anything other than hurt himself. And he has a moment to grasp ultimate power.
Mm, it's alluring. I get it. I get it. Man, it's it's such a heavy, heavy, heavy show and book, everything. It only gets worse. I know that there's not a lot of information about the mangaka um out in the world. Like,
Hmm.
before he passed, he was very much like to himself, barely seen in public. Um but as so I am a person that has lived a pretty wild past, right? And I I feel like he's writing a story of a person that was hurt. Um, I, it's just the feeling that I get. Like, you read through, you watch anything and everything that he had fingers on. Like, even the video game from Dreamcast, he had a part and he wanted to make sure that the storyline was good. Even in there, you're watching it and it's not just bad bad guy, like I'm the badass guy. It's everything is so heavy. And then after you get out of the golden age, like, magic ends up being more of a thing. And
Hmm.
at no point in time can magic heal the scars of your soul. At no point in time is there like that pill that could just take it away. You still are dealing with it. It's always with you. The hurt is always with you. I can't help but think that, like, there's something there. Like, this is like when you read it, you really get it. The anime itself, it kind of hits it a little bit, but in the pages, you are reading and you're like, no matter what you do, like magic in this world can like cure your mind and fix your body and bop 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 and like you can do a lot of things, but whatever you are inside, that's you. Do you have any thoughts on just like the internal struggles that the characters are going through outside of Griffith? We spent a lot of time with him, but Guts
Sure.
is going through a lot. You know, everybody's going through so much.
Yeah, I mean, and you can choose to cut any of this stuff if you feel like it's too spoilery. I don't think it is, but
It's all right.
um, it's very explicit in the manga, and then in the '97 version, it's a little bit more metaphorically shown. But Guts, as a child, um, he was sexually assaulted. He was raped. He and free will and causality is a huge theme, and the way this is expressed through Guts is this is literally a man who was born of a corpse. His mother was hanged, and he fell out of her, and was left there. And he's found by a band of mercenaries. He's accused of being cursed. He's blamed for the death of the woman who finds him. His adopted father is a man who sells him into sex slavery and forces him to fight as a mercenary and kill, and is abusive to him and attempts to kill him at one point, the only father he's ever known. And he's run from the only family he's ever known. He has to survive in this way, and he just goes through all of this. That I have to suspect that Maria, for whatever reason, had a very strong understanding of trauma and what that feels
Mm,
like, and how. And as you're saying, it can't it can't it can't fully leave you, you know.
mm,
Um, and trying to navigate life without blaming yourself for things, and without really being able to contend with trauma in a way that is healthy for you, leads you down really dark, destructive paths. It makes you susceptible to things like cults and stuff like that. Like, I think Griffith is very much a cult leader in a lot of ways,
right.
right? And Casca rhymes in here, right?
Yeah.
Her origin story is she is taken by a noble, um, to be sexually assaulted. She is saved essentially by Griffith, who gives her an opportunity to save herself in a certain way. Tells her she has choice, but the more you think about it, she really doesn't. She has no
There
choice
is no
but to follow
choice. She
Griffith,
has no choice.
right?
Yeah.
And so you have these characters that just come from these traumatic pasts and are following just a stream of causality, and they're just kind of swimming and trying to make their way and latching on to Griffith and his dream, right?
Mm,
So when Guts wants to break away and start his, kind of find his own dream, whatever that might be necessarily. And I think what that dream really ends up being is making a life with Casca is what the dream kind of becomes, a much smaller dream than Griffith's, right? But like a dream nonetheless that is all he really needs.
yeah.
Um,
And for some
and
reason, it actually offends Griffith
yeah,
that he can like he he will do anything in his power to keep his possessions, and those people are his possessions,
hmm
which is a wild way to think.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I really like the way the anime begins. If I don't know if you remember, but the very first shot in the anime is of the sword being forged, his sword being forged, the
Mm,
Dragon Slayer, and just a piece of red hot metal that's being beat by a hammer. It is a piece of steel that is beaten into a certain shape for someone else to use, right? And that's what Guts really has his life is, right? He's beaten into this weapon, right?
yeah.
And he talks about the only evidence that he will have lived is this sword,
Mm,
right? Like, he is synonymous with death and violence. And so his dream is to break away from that somehow, but also he doesn't want to leave that behind. He talks about the sword being part of him, and how, moving forward he would never fight for anyone but himself. Like, he's not pushing away the violence necessarily, pushing away completely, but he wants to recontextualize it somehow. And he's trying to do that within this world, a world of monsters, both men and beast, right?
Yeah.
So he's trapped, and
Yeah.
he's trapped by some transcendental god or being or god or law, right?
Hmm.
Of causality. And he struggles with this, that he doesn't really have free will.
So I I'm gonna put a little bumper here. I feel like it's gonna break the flow. Don't care.
It's all good.
But let's do it. Let's go. So I watched the original anime in English. I don't even think I could have figured out how to watch the anime in any other way. Like I don't think that would have like during that time frame. Barely the internet was barely a thing, and it was like Napster and Livewire and all kinds of craziness. So I watched it in English because it was available. How did you watch the anime?
Yeah, also in English, for sure.
Hmm.
Same situation.
Have you watched any of it in the original anime or the newer stuff in Japanese?
I've only seen clips.
Okay.
Oh, that's not
Okay.
true. The new films I actually watched subbed.
Okay. Which one do you prefer?
I'm not a big like you got to be subs or dubs. It's really for me. I'll go with a dub if it's good voice acting.
Hmm.
That's all I need. Dubs are much more convenient, not just because of the it's in my language, but I can look away from the screen. I can get up and walk around. There's just a lot of convenience to dub,
There is.
and that's fine, but if it's a bad dub, I will watch the sub very easily. I don't mind. I do not mind
Yeah.
subtitles in any way. It's and I think there's a certain like there's times where I really do want to respect like original voice actors. Like
Hmm.
I remember I watched Gantz, and
Mm.
it's like notoriously a terrible dub.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't tell if this is good or not because the voice acting is so bad.
It's so bad.
um, and I ended up going watching that again with the sub. But that's also kind of a fun dub to listen to because it's so bad. It's like
It
it's a
it
hate
is
watch.
sometimes a bad dub is worth it just because it's like, oh, this is absolute chaos. And then sometimes it's not worth it. One of so since you're a literature major, and you do like a like a book van situation, like you've done that in the past. I'm not
Yeah, I
sure
do
if you're
book
still
fairs.
doing
Yeah.
it. Oh heck yeah. Um, One of my students, she is 9 years old, and during COVID, she was, she didn't go to school. She was doing the online thing, but her and her mom really enjoy anime. And what for her, it was sub over dub because while the television is playing, the daughter is focused on the screen and she's watching the words and she has to read.
Hmm.
So it was a way for her, and I've used this in the past, when I was young, I used to keep closed caption on television just so I could, and like practice reading while I was watching something silly and dumb. It wasn't really helping, but I think that for some people that is a use to stay literate, which
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I
I used to be a literacy tutor, and that would
mm,
totally be something I would recommend. Put the subtitles on, whether it's in English or not. Just throw it on.
nice, nice. So I mean, I think we both align on the same thing where it's like it's convenient to be able to do other things
Hmm.
and enjoy something, which if I spoke Japanese or understood Japanese perfectly, I wouldn't need to. But hey, there's new I don't know if it's considered anime or not, but there's new stuff out there that is like a Hero X, which is absolutely phenomenal. It's Chinese, and let me tell you something. day in day out. Like they come out with the dubbed, and the first few episodes were rough, and I don't think their syncing was weird, but they fixed it. They fixed it, and it's good, and it's magical, and it might be the best thing on television right now. It might be the best uh, animated series on television right now. Hero
You,
X. So I'm just gonna
you
put
might
that.
need to add a new segment where you say, "Is it anime?"
Is it anime? This is true. This is true.
Because
Especially
that's
with the new Korean stuff coming out too.
yeah,
Like,
because that's a debate, right? Like if it's not Japanese, does it get to be? I remember when like Afro Samurai came out, right? And it was a
mm,
lot of like, oh, this isn't actually anime 'cause it's not Japanese, right? So I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, where do you fall
That's
on
a
that?
I, so for me, it's still anime because what anime means is animation.
Hmm.
So, so, so for me, it's the same. I still consider it anime. And then if you look at like any of the old school anime, you're like, oh, this is like Mickey Mouse, right?
Yeah,
Like Astro Boy kind of looks like a Mickey Mouse cartoon, like from the same time frame, right? So it's
but
like
at this point, there's a aesthetic to anime at this point, right? It's like I
there
don't look at just any
is.
animation and say, oh, this is anime, right?
I can be confused sometimes where I could watch Invincible and I'll be like, "Oh,
Hmm.
this is anime." I know it's not anime, but I'll call it anime. I'll call it anime.
Yeah, no,
And
there's
it's,
gray area for sure.
yeah, it's like right in this a little iffy, a little iffy. Um but talking about iffy, let's go ahead and get into our hot takes. Nothing better than a Godzilla wearing a Mawashi destroying a city. Nothing better. Nothing better. So do you have a hot take about anything really? I don't really care. Like we're having so much fun.
I probably do. You know what? Yeah, we don't need to save the pandas. They don't earn it. No pandas. Sorry.
He's
We try
coming
to
for the
get them.
pandas.
We try to get
Oh
them to
no,
have sex. We give them all
the
the food they
WWF is gonna
need.
show up.
We do everything we possibly can to get the pandas in a place where they can reproduce and have a good time. They do not meet us halfway. We've tried for so long. Pandas, sorry. It's you guys have chosen for it to be over for you. You're not doing it in the wild. You're not doing it in captivity. You need to have more babies if you want to survive, and you're not doing it. No,
I
not
love this
really.
hot
Not
take.
really.
This
Not
is the
really.
wildest hot take of hot takes. I mean, this is the thing. It also sounds like you kind of believe that a little bit.
There's a little piece of me that believes it. If it wasn't for the fact that we decimated their natural habitat, and that probably had
This
a
is
little
true.
effect on things. So, not really. No, I mean,
Yeah.
like, that's about as hot as it gets, you know?
Okay. Okay.
Extinction's good.
Extinction's good. The dodo bird deserved to die.
If I try to keep it on topic a little bit, and it's really not that hot of a take, I think most people can just recognize this that anime is a little too weird sometimes.
Hmm.
Like there's things that are not hentai and they are not porn, and there are things that are just like it's like come on, we don't need to do this weird sex stuff in anime so much. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really disruptive to the story. There's a lot of fan service that gets really annoying, and I think it's good to
Yeah.
be critical of that. The way women are written in anime, even in modern anime, it's still got a
Yeah.
lot of work to do. I was what was I watching? Delicious Dungeon on
Mm.
Netflix. I think
Hmm.
that's what it's called. I only watched a couple
Yeah.
episodes. Well, I only watched a couple
Delicious in
episodes.
dungeon.
Thank you, Delicious and Dungeon. Um, because like the female character is like the like very naggy and everything. The way she's written, I'm like, oh my god, I've seen so many anime women written this way. It's so boring to me
It
now,
is within a
right?
trope. Yeah.
Yes, right. So I would love to see just some improvement there. I think it would be really enjoyable. It doesn't mean that it has to go away altogether. There should be something for everybody. I'm fine with there being. I'm fine. Like Gurren Lagann is a wonderful, beautiful anime that I absolutely love. And for some reason, they love to just make the titties bounce. And you know
This is
what?
true.
Am I gonna recommend my wife watch that one? No, she's gonna hate it, right? and that's okay. That there's something for somebody there, but the ratio needs to shift a little bit
So
more shifting of ratio.
I went back and I was watching Air Master, which is a fighting anime, and it gets weird. It gets weird. It's like a girl. Her mom is a gymnast, and her dad's like a MMA fighter, and she kind of combines the two together. And she's fighting luchadors in Japan on the streets, and it's weird, but it's a fun one because they don't really have the cliche like tropes because it's not written for boys.
Hmm.
It's the anime is written for girls. So there's still a character there that has like, giant front areas, and there's still like a joke to it, but the joke doesn't seem as sexual as it would be if it was like, I don't know, any other show during that time, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, so this is like you can have the joke but then not make it gross,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And I think that that's something that they should explore more of. Also, I think that the tropes in anime, it makes it real rough. You're like, hey, you should watch this. Oh, this guy got reincarnated and he was 37 years old and now he's blah, blah. I'm like, I I got nothing for you. I can't
Yeah.
justify this. It looks pretty. I don't know.
No, I mean,
it might. I don't know.
my wife and I loved Hajime no Ippo, but every once in a
Mm,
while, we look over at each other, and she's like, "Oh, I guess it's gonna be one of those episodes, huh?" Where it's
yeah,
just, yeah,
yeah,
and it's just like, oh,
yeah,
it's so cringy.
yeah.
But it is what it is. Can't go back and change older anime for sure. Try to enjoy them as we can. Berserk is no stranger to this.
This is true.
It's very silly that Casca just becomes, oh, I can't possibly do anything when I'm on my period. It's like,
Yeah.
so
There's
stuff like
also
that.
some inconsistencies of I don't, a mangaka doesn't know where the manga's gonna go, but
Yeah.
there's points where somebody's fighting an apostle and he's having sex with the apostle.
Yes. Yes.
I'm like, all right, this is,
Yes.
and then later on he's like, oh no, there's a relationship here that he has with somebody that's just with him the whole time. So, all right, we're just gonna
Yeah.
figure that out. Um,
But yeah, I
I
guess
have
my hot take is that just that there's plenty to problematize. That's it.
there's plenty wrong in anime. There's
Yeah.
plenty wrong. My hot take is this one's gonna be a little directed towards you. Have you? Let's see. Let me just make sure I get this damn title right because I feel like I'm gonna mess it up. Mess it up. All right, I got it. Have you read Hellbound Heart?
No,
Okay.
I have heard of
So
it though.
it's the book that is the what Hellraiser is based off of.
Hmm. Hmm.
I can't help. Maybe I've been too far in Berserk, but I can't help but look at that and then like kind of like I brush through the book a little bit and I see a lot of parallels. Do you think I guess this is barely a hot take or just me just trying to figure out if you think that the mangaka was like he read this and he was like, "Oh, let me go ahead." It's 3 years before Berserk, so it's
Yeah.
1986.
No, he's explicitly stated that it's well, he said Hellraiser itself explicitly. He said
Hellraiser itself.
is an influence for him for sure.
Awesome.
I would say, I mean, he's had we saw glimpses of guts, right, in earlier work from him, right? So a lot of
Right.
the design, I'm certain, is just that's him, right? I mean, I think he's probably heavily influenced by by that work for sure. Um, but he's also like, I mean, Mad Max is a huge influence for sure, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
Um, it's one of those things where I'm just like, am I really worried that he cribbed from this? Not really, because he really makes the story his own at the end of the day.
Mm. It's
In
very
my
personal too. Like I
Yeah.
I can't help but think that this is like one of the most personal pieces of art that I've ever experienced. So it's like
Here's a no
regardless.
here's a real hot take.
Okay, shoot, shoot, shoot.
So his partner, Maury, right,
Hmm.
who he worked with, they've said that aspects of Guts are based off of him too, right? The fact that like he
Interesting.
goes away and then comes back and they rejoin, right? And and like Guts and Griffith's relationship is kind of Maury and Maria's relationship a little bit in some ways. They're inspired by that, and so the the homoeroticism and
Hmm.
the aspects of the story where it's like Guts will use like homophobic slurs, right, as like this like very defensively, right? And there's part of me where it's like, I don't know if Miria just like, oh, he's a guy from the 80s and he would just use that because that was kind of normal to use. But like, I can't help but like wonder if there's a tone of like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know
No,
if
I know
if
what
I
you're
want to
saying.
say that I think
You're
that
saying the politician that is against gay marriage that goes to the bathroom and does inappropriate things. Like I know what you're saying. Like
yeah,
I get it. It's very possible. It's very possible. Like as I think it was.
Muria, very private man in
Mhm.
Japan, never married, from what I understand, despite his immense success, workaholic. Um, a little bit reclusive in that sense, like maybe not wanting a lot of people to know a lot about him as a personally. Um, I think this all kind of fits. These are just kind of flags that pop up that make me kind of wonder if this person who tells these very personal and very deep stories that have these aspects in them. I do wonder if there was. I wonder about Maria's sexuality a little bit.
Okay. That is a hot take. That is a hot take. Way better than the one that I did, which was less researched because
Is it better
we
than
talked about it.
pandas? We should just let pandas
Oh,
die.
that's, I mean, this is the thing. This one's juicy. The other one is hurtful. All right. I think that this is a pretty good spot. I have one more segment that we're not going to do is if you could pick a world, where would you be? Yeah,
Wouldn't be
I
Berserk.
don't. It wouldn't be Berserk at
It
all.
would not be
It's a
Berserk.
lose lose. Like there's no win. It's only sad. There's magic. It doesn't really help you. It's like it's not
Yeah.
good. You get reincarnated there. You're probably, if you're lucky, you're an orphan. If
I
you're
mean,
lucky.
the answer is just going to be Stardew Valley.
I don't know. For me, I think it might be Pokemon.
Nah. I don't want to take care of all
I don't
those.
know,
That's too
man.
many.
Like I get reincarnated for some reason. I'm always 15, and I'm just walking around catching miscellaneous animals.
Oh no, I could never be only always 15. No.
Oh, I mean, this is fair. This is fair. Ash, what is going on in your life? Um, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and end here. I do want to say I'm gonna give you the camera. It's gonna be a one shot. Plug anything you want to plug, and then after you're done plugging, so like come and do sumo with us at blah blah blah. After that, I want you to say one phrase, sentence, whatever you want, anything that you want to say. You could say literally anything that means something to you.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
all right. There you go.
Um, I guess to plug. Not too much to plug. I'm not that interesting. You can follow me on social media if you want. All I do is post pictures about my cats. But follow Black Cat Sumo Club on Instagram. And if you're in the Bay Area, come hang out with us. We'll beat each other up a little bit, and it's a good time. Other than that, I'll leave you with a quote from Berserk. I think that would be only fitting. And this is from Guts when he and Koska are speaking to each other and they're looking out over the camp at night of the Band of the Hawks. And Guts says, to ensure those weaker flames don't go out, each man casts his own into the strongest fire of them all. A raging fire, that is Griffith. But my light isn't to be seen among them. Still, after all this time, it seems I'm just someone who stopped to warm himself at the bonfire in passing.